On the Alan Colmes radio show, you'll hear Alan's voice first. How different would the world be had you been elected president in 2000? And then John McCain's reply.
How would the country be different now had you been elected in 2000?
We'd have had the strategy in Iraq that we have today, and I believe you would have seen stability and not a very large U.S. presence there, and you'd have seen an Iraq that would have justified in many respects the sacrifice that we've made. I think the mishandling of Iraq by Rumsfeld and others is one of the great mistakes that have been made, and we paid a heavy price for it throughout the region and in the world.
Yeah, well, Did he sound a little sleepy, or is that just his tone of voice, or am I picking on him?
I think his tone of his voice, because if you see him on Meet the Press, he'll do the same thing, but he makes you lean in because you want to know what he has to say.
McCain's strength, in my view, is his attractiveness to the populace at large, the Democrats and independents that will like him.
Now he has very modest money in the bank. He's going to have matching funds. I think it's around Ron Paul-esque $6 million that he's raised, but he's got some debt there. Now, for some reason, instead of saying it's no surrender tour, by the way, now instead of giving up, he might be picking up. Or have you changed your feeling about John McCain? Pennsylvania, Marcy, you're on Brown and the Judge.
What John McCain did in his youth in Vietnam was incomparable and overwhelming, actually, to have that kind of inner strength. Starting in 2002, when Bush beat him in the primary, what I saw was a very petulant man out for revenge against Bush. And wherever he could, he needled Bush in the press. And, of course, the press just loved that. And John McCain thought that the press loved him. Well, the press didn't love him. The press hated Bush. So I just think he took advantage and just was a jerk in general.
Jerry in California. Jerry, welcome to Brian and the Judge.
My argument with McCain is everybody tells me he's such a great hero. Granted, he was in the Hanoi Hilton. At one time, 1967 or 68, they were going to trade him. He could have got out. What he did is he stayed. For what reason? To help his buddies? Maybe to make him look good later on politically.
Well, look, you're a prisoner at the hands of a monster government that wants to break your spirit.
Kidding?
How can you not praise a human being that says, don't hit him in the gut, hit me?
He was going to be traded.
And he said, no, I'll stay. Send these other guys home.
They didn't send anybody home.
So, Jerry, what he said is, don't send me home without my guys.
One of the flyers got shot down with him. A guy by the name of Lieutenant Commander Stratton. You want to talk about a hero? There's a hero.
California, Hal, you're on Brian and the Judge.
You're talking about his integrity. One, he's the only Republican candidate that has said publicly that he would set aside the Constitution for purely political matters, and that comes in the McCain-Feingold. They've asked him a number of times if what are you going to choose, the Constitution or McCain-Feingold, and he said, you know what, corruption is a bigger deal to me than the Constitution, so if I have to pick one, I'm going to root out corruption. And
so what part of the First Amendment, which says Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech, does John McCain not understand? Remember, George Bush signed that bill into law. They both violated the Constitution.
I would agree with you. In going to the integrity, he always says that he knows all these guys that are dealing in corruption, and if you ask him to name them, he's never done that. Sure.
Didn't this McCain-Feingold go to the Supreme Court, and wasn't that the president's hidden wink and a nod belief that a lot of it would be declared unconstitutional, therefore he'd have best of both worlds?
Yes, I think the president was hoping it would be declared unconstitutional. Unfortunately, the opposite happened.
Does that mean that he didn't violate the Constitution?
No, I think it means the Supreme Court was wrong.
Okay. All right,
I know you love when I say that.
Yeah, okay, the Supreme Court's wrong.
All right, we do have an email from a very good friend of the show, one of our go-to people on the ways of the American intelligence communities, Wayne Simmons, who was a former intelligence agent of the American government, now advises us. Gentlemen, no one can ever question McCain's courage. However, courage never translates into correct decision-making. McCain failed on two of the most important issues of our nation's recent time: campaign finance and, more importantly, immigration. You can never forget those positions or forgive McCain. Never. Have a great weekend, Wayne.
Exercising freedom of speech. It's Brian and the Judge on Fox News Talk.